Hey everybody, this video really doesn't have any type of thought out outline or anything like that. I kind of just wanted to riff for a second. It has no bullet point. It really doesn't have any end goal. I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the concept that a lot of people say when they make a life decision that God has led them to do something. And we say this oftentimes. And I think we do it flippantly as Christians sometimes whenever we make a decision and we want it to sound we want to sound confident, when we want to sound self-assured, that we want people to affirm what we've said or our life choices. We make our decision and we slap "God has led me" because we feel like an emotional pull to something, or we have some kind of a strong desire, and therefore that means that God has led me. And I think that can be a fallacy in how we think about things as Christians sometimes. Sometimes God does lead us to do things, and I don't want to discount that. I mean, obviously, I'm a minister, and I don't deny that God can lead us to things. But I think often, and you may be in the same boat as me, I'm just being honest here, you may have heard people use that line just repeatedly over and over for decisions that they impulsively make in their life. I want to go here, or I want to do this, or I'm going to make this life change, or I'm going to do this. And the way to avoid criticism over that, or to have people go, "Are you sure you've tried X, Y, and Z 1,000 times?" The way to avoid a criticism is to slap the Almighty on it, to give it deity approval, and to say, well, Jesus led me to do it, and therefore, if you criticize that, then that's judgment, and how dare you do those things. I think we really need to be careful about saying God has led me, doing that impulsively or flippantly, and most of the people who would say they do that, they would say that they don't do that impulsively, but you see a string of 10 different decisions within the last 2 years where God has definitely led them to do something. And I don't know if Jesus really wants us slapping his name on every single life choice that we make that may turn out bad. God led me into something, and now he's leading me out of something. Now he's leading me into this. Now he's leading me out of that. And I know God's in control. I know God leads us at times to do certain things, but I think we may do the credibility of not only God's character but ourselves a lot of damage when we keep flippantly saying, well, God has led me to do this. Sometimes you just make a bad choice. And sometimes you just want to do a different thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying, I want to make a life choice. But to spiritualize every single decision and have a repetitive nature of it makes God look wishy-washy, and you wishy-washy too. And I really don't think that God is that flippant, that God is that random all the time. If you encounter somebody and they've said 10 times in the last 2 years that God has led them to do something, or to do some different major life choice, at some point you want to confront that and say, has God really led you down that path? What leads you to think that God has really spoken down from heaven and made you have this latest life choice? But I think we are afraid to do that, and justifiably so, because we don't want to be labeled judgmental. We don't want to be labeled harsh or too heavily questioning a person who God may have spoken to. But I don't know. It does make me curious, and I don't think there's anything wrong, especially if we're close to that person. I'm not saying go up to every random person that says God led them and start a confrontational conversation. But if you're really good friends with them, or you're a family member, I don't think there's anything wrong with pushing back on that just a little bit. Why do you think God has led you when he has supposedly led you in 10 different decisions again in the last 2 or 3 years? And I think it's a really healthy thing for Christians, honestly, to evaluate whether I'm stamping Jesus's name on the decisions that I make, because I don't want anybody to criticize the decisions I make, because I know I've had a string of seemingly bad choices. But this is the one that God has really spoken to. I really want to move us from a place of saying God is leading me, having that viewed as a spiritually mature thing, where it's rare but it's powerful and impactful, and away from the, I don't know, it seems like it's almost a mark of spiritual immaturity at times when it's just constantly used to, again, justify one's desires to do whatever they want to do, and have no one criticize it, and to have everybody almost justify and throw their weight of support behind it because we use the magic words, God led me. Be very clear when God's leading you. And I know that we like to at times say God's not exactly clear. When he called Abraham, he called him to a land he didn't know, and he just said yes. That happens occasionally, but really not all that often. And I'm just riffing here. I'm like you're right here in front of me, and I wish I could have a conversation with you about it, but I keep hearing this, well, God led me. And it usually comes from people who have had God lead them 10,000 different random and crazy different ways. And it seems more of a mark of personality rather than Jesus has really led them in a specific direction. So I don't know. Think about it. Tell me what you think. I've just heard this from a lot of people in the culture, some people I've known, and it's just, Let's think through that, how we're using God's name, how we're using that powerful thing where God leads us. Let's not use that flippantly. Let's not use it casually. And let's just not tag God on every decision we make so that we can be exempt from criticism or from other people's scrutiny. Because sometimes God, I hate to say it this way, but God leads through people asking us questions and evaluating what we're doing. And just be careful with how we use God led me, because you're invoking a very strong name and a very strong presence in your life, and we shouldn't use it flippantly. So think about it. Let me know what you think. This has been a riff on God's leading me. It's been Steven. We'll see you again later.